Good morning. It's time for Precision Talk. I'm Marketing Manager Frank Olmsted with HTS Ag. And joining us this morning, President Adam Giddens. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Frank.
Hope you had a fantastic Christmas this week.
It's been an absolutely fabulous week.
Good. Excellent. Well, we wanted to get right into it this morning because right across the news feed, you keep your ear kind of to the ground when it comes to what's happening in the drone world, and something kind of big happened this week.
You bet. Earlier this week, and this is something we've seen coming for quite a while. A year ago, actually, Congress passed the rule in the NDAA 25 bill that we saw the writing on the wall coming that if no investigation was done into DJI, they were to be banned, in other words, put on the covered list so that they won't have future approval through the FCC for any new aircraft that they would send to the country. Now, what does that really mean? When we got to it, of course, no investigation happened. There was nothing done. So we hit that date and they got added to the covered list. But instead of just adding DJI, they added all foreign made drones to the FCC covered list, meaning any drone, potentially, depending on how this language unpacks, any drone made outside the US, any new models are not going to receive FCC approval and not be able to be used in the United States. Now, if you have a spray drone, if you have a image drone, if you have a DJI drone, we don't need to panic yet. There's nothing that's blocking the drone you already have. You're fine there. In fact, even those models that are still for sale in the country, if it's an existing model, you can still buy them new. What we won't be able to do is when DJI comes out with the next drone, or Autel comes out with the next drone, or whatever other company, those models are not going to be for sale in the United States, which is going to, I think, allow for some time for transition. We're going to be able to phase out the drones that we currently have and start looking at other manufacturers, potentially US built drones. And again, this is something we've seen coming for quite a while. So we have already at HTS Ag, we have already started positioning ourselves to be able to offer you NDAA compliant drones, or a step back from that. They call it, the blue UAS and the green UAS list. Those are kind of the drones that are like really secure for federal use, and then still really secure, but may have a few parts that don't quite make it to the federal list, but still a very secure drone that we could use for a whole lot of applications. We've got access to a lot of those different aircraft. And one of our favorites with the spray drones, of course, is the Aerostar Dynamics. They've been a great company to work with. They've got a drone that's getting built here in the U.S. It's coming out of Pennsylvania. We've worked very closely with them for a couple of years now, and we're pretty confident in that product. Have some here in our office.
Absolutely. So if you've seen us at trade shows from the last couple of years, or you've been to the office, you've seen the Aerostar Dynamics aircrafts, and they are just as impressive as anything on the market.
Absolutely agree. We've got a whole host of different aircraft we can work with. Again, so if you're looking for a really small, inexpensive drone, that's probably the place where there's going to be the biggest impact. There's really not a lot that fills that market in the, let's call it, sub $1,000 drone category. There's just not a lot in the US manufactured market that fills that void. But anything that's going to be highly useful, able to carry a payload, a really high-end camera, all of those types of things, we've got what I feel to be some fairly competitive products from Aerostar Dynamics, from Inspired Flight, from a few other manufacturers that we feel really confident with. And we're ready to help people make those decisions about what's next and start looking forward, because this is now here to stay. Getting those companies off of the covered list would take a significant amount of work, and I just don't see that happening. I'm not excited about this. I think there's maybe this is a little bit broad reaching. However, when we have our Congress people telling us that this is a national security threat, we need to pay attention and try and work within what they're telling us needs to happen. So moving forward, we're going to need to adopt and work with the stuff that we have, and we're here to help with that.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask, when it comes to being on the covered list, does that mean like parts are going to be harder to get for the current stuff that's out there?
Well, maybe is probably the best answer I can give you. We're still kind of seeing how a lot of this unfolds. So, the Chinese drone manufacturers are not banned from selling parts into the US, but if they're not able to sell new product, eventually they're not going to keep making old product. And we've already seen legacy parts are harder to get. It's really hard to find parts for, let's say, like a Phantom right now from DJI because they just haven't made that aircraft for a number of years. So with time, those parts are going to be increasingly tough to find and get. And the other side of that coin is how will the companies respond if they're not able to send their newest and latest and greatest products into the country? Are they going to continue to even do business here? So it is not forcing their hand, but they may decide they're just done and not continue selling product here. I don't see that necessarily happening in the near future, but as those products continue to age, it's definitely going to become harder to get parts for.
Okay, well, let's delve a little deeper into Aerostar Dynamics. Now, they're manufactured in Pennsylvania, but they
Correct.
kind of source parts from all over the country.
They do, and that's one of the things that really excites me about that product line. They went out of their way to find parts that are US built. The ground sensing radar that they use to be able to maintain the height above the crop or above the ground for their spray drones is actually built in Kansas. And just a number of other parts like that they're finding local alternatives to be able to put that aircraft together. And it's just an absolute breath of fresh air in the industry when even a lot of the US manufacturers or US manufactured drones are actually just Chinese parts that are reassembled here. They're doing it a little bit different, and they've got a really great product and a really great team to be able to make that stuff work.
Absolutely. So, to learn more about Aerostar Dynamics, we've got a great section on our website at htsag.com. You can Google Aerostar Dynamics and go to their website and kind of delve around and see what kind of products that they have. But uh, we had our open house a couple weeks ago, Adam, and there was some. I mean, obviously, we had the Aerostar Dynamic spray drones out for guys to take a look at, but there was some interest. So, when someone's looking at getting into a spray drone, what kind of regulations, real quick, do they have to go through, and how can HDSAG help?
Sure. And so there's a couple of things here that we've got to be paying attention to. One is right now we're looking at about a 60 to 90-day lead time on new spray drones, just because there's enough of demand that we've got to get the orders in to get the units here. But in addition to that, that actually goes well with the regulatory framework that has to be navigated. You need a Part 107. Again, I'll quick plug. We're doing a Part 107 class next month. Love to have you sign up for that. The details are on our website under events. You need a Part 137 to be able to spray. So that's your commercial aerial applicators license with the FAA effectively. And you're going to have a commercial aerial applicator, pesticide applicators license, at least in the state of Iowa, with IDALs. We can certainly point you in the right direction for all of those things, help you with the paperwork, and it's not difficult, but it is something that takes some time to navigate and work through, especially getting the 137 paperwork completed. That process is typically running every bit of 90 days by the time we get it submitted and wait for approval back from the FAA for that. So you do need to have the aircraft bought before you can even start that paperwork. So if you're thinking about spraying in 2026, it may seem like we're really early, but now is the time to get started with that so we can get the aircraft and we can get all the paperwork approved and have you ready to go when it's time to hit those crops.
Absolutely. So, for more information, sign up on the Part 107 class coming in January. You can do all that on our website at hdsag.com. For more information, you can always give us a call at 712-744-4468. You can stop by our new location in Neola, our home office there in Neola at 111 4th Street in Neola, right next to the Buck Snort. And is it downtown Neola? Is that the technical term? You're a
We'll call
Neolite.
that. Yeah, I like that.
So you can find us right there big HTS Ag sign on the building. Can't miss it. And we've got a couple of those Aerostar Dynamic drones in there if you want to take a look. And as always, you can always find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all at HTS Ag. Thanks, Adam.
Have a great day.
Was there any